I'm a police officer in the United States of America, and I've been one for just under 10 years. And these are my stories. Now, adrenaline is a funny thing. In fact, it affects everybody almost the exact same way. They say a mother can lift a car off of her child. A person can basically become invincible with enough adrenaline. Now, I, as a police officer, have had plenty of adrenaline dumps. Running code, which is lights and sirens at 120 miles an hour down a highway around a sharp curve, while your wheels are chirping while they bounce off the concrete and you do what you can to stay on the road. Going into those buildings where someone inside has a gun, and they could be around any corner or through any door. When you go around a corner and the suspect is sitting across the room and he's holding a knife in his hand and he says, if those cops are coming in, I'm going to make them kill me and I'm going to run at them with this knife. Now, that gentleman was not killed. We took him into custody safely, and I'll tell you that story on the next one. But these adrenaline dumps, they get you so excited, so amped up, and then cause you to crash so hard. They cause you to crash so hard you just want to fall asleep while driving behind the wheel like you haven't slept in days. Well, about 3 years ago, there was a call at a gas station, and it was on my way back to the police station. I was done for the night, and I was heading back. Now, an alert tone came in, which is a large sound that rings out over all of our radios, in our ears, and our patrol cars. And this alerts everybody to know that something important on the radio is about to be aired, so shut the hell up. The call came in as a man shot in the chest just outside the gas station. Now, this man was standing at a red box and he had a backpack over his shoulder. He was in his late 30s, early 40s, and he was just getting a DVD to watch for the night. And he was approached by another male in a mask. Now, this is prior to COVID. And he was asked to hand over his backpack. Now, the gentleman had his gun out, pointed directly center mass, and as the male started to slowly lean down and drop the bag on the ground, the other male shot him in the chest. So he fell over. I arrived on scene. The suspect had fled on foot, and I began my first aid. Now, the first thing you want to do is find the entry and exit wound, because you could place pressure on the front of his chest only to have it spilling out along the rear. Now, normally when it comes to chest wounds, you use something called a halo seal. It's a seal that's pressed along the chest cavity that both seals it in case there's air leaking from a lung or helps stop the blood flow. So an example would be if you have a sucking chest wound, which means the bullet hole or the knife puncture is in the left upper hemisphere of a chest, and then it punctures the lung. Well, what'll happen is the lung will start to collapse. You'll start to get this sucking chest wound, which means the air is escaping out that cavity, and you seal it with a halo patch, and then it causes the discomfort to sort of go away, breathing to sort of return to normal, allow the lung to slightly inflate a little bit more because there's a vacuum inside the cavity. This bullet hole, like I said, was center punched directly in the chest. So I wanted to know if it pierced his heart and if it exited out of his back. So as I flipped him over, I realized there was no exit wound on his back. Now, about 45 seconds has gone by. The scene has already been cleared as safe and medics responded. Now, because I was the first one on scene and I was able to get a basic description of the suspect and I had a rapport with the individual, I rode with him in the ambulance. Now, we don't often ride in the back of the ambulance with a victim or anybody else. Even a suspect will follow behind the ambulance. However, in situations and circumstances like this, where there may be something that's called a deathbed confession, which isn't like a serial killer thing, which that's what they do, or a murderer thing, which that's what they do. It's more of a, hey, I knew this guy. I know I'm going to die. I don't want to protect him. I want to tell you exactly who it is. Or we want to get any type of spontaneous utterances or anything that comes out of them that may help us get the suspect. Even if they have no idea who it is, they may be able to give us some detail while the medics are rushing them to the ER, so that we can then again relay them to the people on scene so they can start searching for the suspect themselves. So we arrive at the hospital and they end up putting this guy into the OR and they start working on him and they end up saving his life. Now, what ended up happening was the bullet had traveled into his chest, missed his heart. Because he was bent over or leaned forward, dropping his backpack, the bullet traveled through his lower abdomen and out his butt cheek. Now, lucky for him, it only punctured a few things like a small intestine, a large intestine, but it didn't hit any of the major arteries, no major organs, nothing. He ended up surviving, which is a great thing. And honestly, it came out to be the man was in the wrong place at the wrong time and had no idea who the suspect was. Now, this is what I'm talking about at the beginning of this story, that adrenaline dump. Well, after all of this had happened, after me running code, lights and sirens, first one on scene, tearing the guy's clothes off, looking for entry and exit wounds, doing tactical medical first aid on him, getting in the ambulance with him, recording his conversations, knowing that he may die, going through all this. At the hospital, I remember vividly standing there outside of his room and thinking to myself, I'm calm. I'm collected. I looked at my hand. My hand wasn't shaking at all. I checked my pulse because I was like, it was a realization to me that I wasn't amped up at all. I was calm. I was collected. My heartbeat was very calm. My average resting heartbeat or standing heart rate is about 50 to 55 because I like to run. But I realized that it was just calm. Everything around me was calm. And I told my wife this later. I said, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If it's good that I recognize being in these high, tense situations don't necessarily need my body to explode and expend all of its energy, I'm now used to it. Or if it's bad because I'm so used to it that like a drug, it never will affect me the same again. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you ever been through situations or scenarios like this? Jumping out of an airplane. I know a lot of skydivers, those first few jumps, their heart is in their throat. It's pounding. They get that massive adrenaline dump. And after your 200th jump, is it the same? I'm willing to bet that it's not. Now, I am a prior veteran, and I know a lot of people who have been in combat, and it's affected them greatly. They hear loud sounds, bangs, fireworks. They don't go to the gun range because the loud sounds affect them. And it's crazy how a single event can trigger a reaction in someone that will change them for the rest of their lives. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people like me who deal with these situations on a day-to-day and weekly basis, and yet it doesn't affect us at all. It's just amazing how our bodies can compartmentalize this stuff for some and not others. Now, of course, I say it doesn't affect me. Of course it affects me. I have nightmares and dreams and stuff like that. But on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't affect me in the least bit. In fact, if I hear a gunshot next to me, it doesn't make my heart jump at all. If I rush into a scene where I know someone can be around the corner, it doesn't affect me at all. It's like I almost know what I'm going into, and I already know what the outcome is. It's one of two things. Either I win or I lose. But it depends on the day. What do they say? Every dog has its day. Every fighter, no matter how good you are, if you don't walk in that ring at your best, it just may not be your day. You may not win that time. And I think we all understand that. Now, if you've made it all the way to the end, it would be really nice if you subscribe to this channel. Give me a like. I love doing videos like this. It sort of calms the soul and releases this energy that's sort of bent up. You know, that compartmentalization. I'm able to maybe tell you guys these stories and then, get rid of that box. So I'll see you in the next one.